All right, so here we go. Welcome everyone to Starting a Cooperation Circle. You're interested in interfaith, now what? And my name is Sari Heidenreich, as we were just talking about in our little introductions. I am based in San Francisco, California. That's where I am right now. And I work with URI as the North American Regional Coordinator. That means a whole lot of different things, but what it means in this context is that I'm one of the people who helps new people who are interested in URI get involved and learn more about the organization. And I'm also someone who helps our current members connect to each other as well. So I'm not sure why this is bumping back and forth between slides, but sorry about that. And if you need any tech help while we're here during this time, you can email the folks at BigMarker by emailing support@BigMarker, and I'll also put a link in your chat box to the attendee guide. So if you're having trouble, you could start by checking there. And then just a couple of housekeeping things about the platform we're using. We can all chat to each other by using the chat box. And if you want to ask somebody a private question, you can click on the People tab and then click the chat button next to their name. So if you want to ask a question, but you want to do so without everyone knowing you're the one who asked it or something like that, feel free to use that function to ask that privately. And so we're just going to get started. Now that I've introduced myself, I'm going to ring a bell that I have here. This is a practice that we have in URI. We try to start all of our meetings just with a moment to bring ourselves fully into the place that we're in. And so I'm going to ring the bell, and then we're just going to sit in silence for a couple seconds as we hear the sound fade off, and then we'll come back. So at the end of a long Monday, I'm sure we all just could use that minute to center ourselves, to bring ourselves fully into this place. I'm going to introduce my two co-presenters, and then I'll let them introduce themselves more. But Maria Crespo is the Director of Cooperation Circle Support. She is joining us from Buenos Aires. It's significantly later where she is, and also warmer. As you can see, they have opposite seasons from us, so she's in her summertime wear, which always makes us all jealous when we're experiencing winter here. And also joining me is Johnny Martin. He's with Sun Devils Are Better Together, which is an interfaith group at Arizona State University and a URI cooperation circle. And so I'm going to hand it over to Maria to start us off, and just to give us all kind of an idea of what we're going to go over. Maria is going to talk a bit about URI and our structure and what are cooperation circles. And then Johnny is going to tell us some stories about his work and the experiences that he's had, just to kind of show some of the diversity in ways that this work is done throughout URI. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how URI can help along the process of interfaith groups starting. These interfaith groups are what we call cooperation circles. You'll learn this lingo as we go along. If you've got any questions as we go along, please do type them in the chat box, and then we can kind of see them and maybe answer them as we go. And we're also going to keep our presentations short, so we have time just to talk as a group and answer unique questions that we each might have. So Maria, I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sari, and thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be in this conversation. I am here because I feel that the world desperately needs people who are committed to build a world in peace. The way that URI has chosen to build this world in peace is inviting people from different faiths, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions to work together for the betterment of the community. And this is a double work. They, of course, do the good work. Perhaps in some places of the world it's blood donation, some others HIV prevention or education or women empowerment or different things people choose to do together. But at the same time, what happens is when people of different faiths work together, the relationship is built and is created. So this is the double work of URI, and this is why URI has this interfaith component, because in order to create cultures of peace, justice, and healing, it is important that we sit together and that we work together, and by it, we know a little bit more about each other. We create a relationship that would not allow what has happened so many times, that religion becomes an excuse for violence. Something that is very important about URI, and sometimes the name does not convey that properly, is that URI is not looking for the to unite all religions in one religion. It is very specific. This is not what URI is, and this is what interfaith is not, and very clearly is shown in the slides that you are seeing. Interfaith is not a religion. It is a way to build bridges of respect and cooperation, and that's why from the 21 principles of United Religions Initiative, first one is that URI is a bridge-building organization, not a religion. But if it is not that, what is URI? And Principle 2 and Principle 3 give us a hint of what it is. Principle 2 says, we respect the sacred wisdom of each religion, spiritual expression, and indigenous tradition. There's wisdom everywhere. There is a spirit blowing in different people with unique personality, and also with their own identity, religious identity, respecting the sacred and the wisdom that this brings to the general table is something that is so important in URI. I've been in URI since 1997 as a very grounded in my Roman Catholic church, and being very active as a catechist, as a member of the parish. I've found that the wisdom that people of different religions bring to my life, and since I've been in URI since 1997, I have grown so much. I have deepened my own religion, and also found wisdom and learning and teaching in so many friends around the world. Number 3, I think it's also so very important to show us what URI is about, saying that we respect the difference among religions, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions. Sometimes people believe interfaith is just, all of us are the same. All of us feel the same. All of us think the same way. All of us believe the same. And to say the truth, we are very different from one each other. I am a mother of 5 children. They are all different. They bring the wisdom, the capacity, the beauty, but from a very unique perspective. And I think religions are that way. They bring beauty, spiritual guidance for all of us, that we need to be grounded and very deep in our roots, and also be open to understand others. And this is what URI is looking forward to. So that is why URI doesn't have individual membership. URI brings together people of at least 7 people of at least 3 different religions or traditions. This is URI membership, and this is what we call cooperation circles, because these 7 people or more of 3 different religions or more working together and cooperating together in a daily, enduring way bring peace to the community, to this group, and also to the bigger group of the community. And I think, and I believe that by changing the family changes the community, by changing the community, you can, and changing the city, you can change the world. And so that's why the URI preamble very clearly points out we unite, or we are together, because I really believe, and also it is kind of part of URI mission and vision, is that people together can really bring the change. So URI has, at this moment, 750 cooperation circles around the world in 92 countries as far as today. Next Wednesday, we do have the approval committee that needs to incorporate newcomers, new members, and we do have a new country to apply next Wednesday, and this is Thailand. So what is URI giving to these groups that are working together for the betterment of the community? A linkage, a network, inspiration, the possibility from one cooperation circle, for instance, I would like Johnny to tell me about a little bit of the work the cooperation circle is doing. And I'm working with a group of youth here in Argentina, and what is important is that they can get together and they can inspire each other and even sometimes meet, even though they are placed in a very different part of the world. Johnny, why don't you tell us what your group has been doing as a cooperation circle with United Religions Initiative? Johnny, is your mic on?
Can you hear me now?
I think it looks like he's about to be able to turn his on. Johnny, we're not seeing you yet if you want to turn on your camera.
It looks like the camera is currently disabled, but can you hear me at least through the microphone?
Yes, we do.
And
okay.
If you can try one more time. If you just click the camera button, what happens? There we go.
There you are.
Oh, but now we can't hear you. So why don't you try just do that one more time where you turn your camera on and off.
Any better?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Well, yeah, I really appreciate everything that Maria has shared with us, and I am the president and founder of Sun Devils Are Better Together, which is a cooperation circle that we have here at Arizona State University. And like many of you, and I'm sure many of you are probably in this situation, I had noticed that on campus at my school, we already had a lot of diversity. There were students from all over the world, students from different traditions and, who were practicing different spiritual expressions and different belief systems. And I noticed that a lot of them were existing in isolation from one another. And I thought, this seems like a missed opportunity, especially as I noticed that so many of these, religious or spiritual traditions had student organizations on campus, and a lot of them were engaged in community service efforts and in different activities to make an impact both locally and beyond. And sometimes these groups would even be targeting the same communities to serve with their efforts, and yet they weren't sharing resources or collaborating or doing it together. And so we decided that there was a need for interfaith cooperation and engagement on our campus. And I realized that this was something I wanted to get involved with, but I wasn't sure what resources and support were available. And when I found URI, I realized that this is a common experience shared by people not only across the state of Arizona and across the United States, but even all over the world. And I realized that if I could share information and resources with other people in other communities attempting to engage in interfaith work, we would all be able to, share stories about our successes, but also discuss some of the inherent challenges that go into bringing people from different traditions together. And so essentially what we decided to do is we created this organization, and then we applied to become a cooperation circle with the United Religions Initiative. And once we went through the process and we were interviewed, there's an appreciative interview, and once we were selected and approved as a cooperation circle, we were able to connect to the larger network, and we began engaging in different events and activities to, actually do something. And we wanted to bring people together, which is something that's challenging in and of itself. But once we were able to do outreach and ensure that we had, at least 3 different religious or non-religious expressions, but even beyond that, we wanted to reach out to all of the different communities that we have here at Arizona State University. And we started planning events. Some of these events are educational so that people can learn about different worldviews and traditions that they're not already familiar with. We also like to provide a platform for people to voice their values and beliefs. And we think this is extremely important, not only with Sun Devils or Better Together, but with URI as a whole. We recognize that we do have fundamental disagreements between our worldviews and traditions, and we don't want to ignore those. We don't want to pretend those aren't there, but we want to recognize that in spite of those disagreements, there are also numerous shared values that we can orient ourselves around as a community of interfaith allies, advocates, and activists. So these are things like kindness, empathy, compassion, respect, forgiveness, integrity, self-reflection, community service, social justice, human rights, all of these things that, I'm a Muslim, but some of my closest friends are other Christian students here at ASU, as well as pagan students, atheist students, humanist students, Buddhist students, Hindu students, and it's because we can all, even though we have different beliefs about the nature of a god or gods or sacred texts or an afterlife, we're able to come together around these shared values and, build relationships, form a community together, and then demonstrate that we respect each other and that we appreciate what we can learn from one another. And so we've done a variety of things, and I would certainly be very, very happy to answer any questions anyone may have about a fairly newly formed cooperation circle. We actually became a CC this past summer, and so, we've experienced a lot of success in the time that we've been a cooperation circle with URI, and I'm very happy to share any information or success stories, challenges, anything you folks want to hear, because it's really been an amazing journey to be connected to this wonderful global organization.
Thank you, John. And I promise you guys, we didn't pay him to say all that stuff. It's been a really wonderful thing for us to get to know the Sun Devils or Better Together group as well. And this is part of the joy of being part of the URI family. I noticed several of you, when I put out that little poll, most of you have been involved in activities before where people of different traditions or spiritual expressions are coming together. And one of the beautiful things about URI is that we're part of this global family, as Maria said, 750 cooperation circles in 92 countries around the world. That's a lot of people that we are all connected to as part of a global family. And I love to say those numbers, because when you look at the news or go on Facebook, there's just so many heart-wrenching things happening. But to know that we are part of this global family of people that all are bound together by the preamble, purpose, and principles. And I want to bring that slide back up again, because that's so much the core of who URI is. We call them our PPPs, the 3 Ps. And this was a document that was drafted over the course of 5 years with input from people from all over the world. So this really is a document that a lot of love and time was put into and was agreed to by the people who formed it together. And then as cooperation circles join URI, they sign on to this. This is kind of what we all agree to. This is what binds us together. And it's really beautiful to know that this many people all around the world are committed to this purpose of ending religiously motivated violence and creating cultures of peace, justice, and healing. So that's just one of the things that I love to talk about when I talk about URI. Maria, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, as our Director of Cooperation Circle Support, Maria knows more about a variety of CCs than probably anyone else in the world. Can you talk about the different types of cooperation circles and why, kind of what makes a cooperation circle unique? How is it different from, for example, a chapter of an organization or something like that?
Yeah, thank you, Sari. As I saw the other picture that you were showing, in which we are URI, we do, for instance, have our dear Swamini, and she is part of a multi-region cooperation circle. It is a big organization doing excellent work in the environment area, and they are kind of helping in India for the hygiene of the waters, and trying also to clean the Ganga River. And imagine this is more ecological. Our dear Elisha Bubu, that is beside her, he's from Nigeria, and he's doing a lot of work in mediation at this challenging times in Nigeria. And on top of him, we do have Emanuele Borga. He's a Catholic, and he's also doing wonderful work, more in the education aspect, in a big organization, and at this moment as staff of URI. And then we go to the left, and we find Enoe Texier. She's from Venezuela, and she's a university teacher, and she's gathering her pupils into service, and trying to show how service enriches us all, and especially when this service is done with people that are more vulnerable or young children in risk. So the things that cooperation circles can involve in is kind of very varied. And also something that varies a lot is we can have a small group of 7 people that get together to watch films and to get the learning from there and interfaith. And then we have big organizations. Today, the application was of ACC in Brazil that was connected as a big group was kind of 1 million people. So, and we do have a wonderful one in Belgium that has 10,000. So members of URI are small groups, big groups, doing environment, education, women, indigenous. We do have a wonderful approach to indigenous that have been divided on cause of religion. In Argentina, for instance, who are evangelists wouldn't get with Catholics, or wouldn't get on with other indigenous, and celebrating the carnival, they would be all separated, and URI has helped them to, and the work of URI has helped them to be together in their peace and also as a community. So the work that people in URI involved to do together is varied. It has to do with the needs of the community. It has to do with the reality and the interest of the people. What is important is that whenever we are doing this work, we don't feel alone, that I'm working in Argentina, but at the same time I know that so many others doing wonderful work around the world, and this empowers me. This gives me courage to continue doing what we are doing here, even if it may be challenging or not. I don't know if I answered your question, Sarah.
Oh, you completely answered it. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I was hoping for. And I'll give a little perspective as well about, because I think most of us are joining from the U.S. Let me know in the chat box if you're joining us from outside the U.S. But some of the variety we see within the U.S. as well. And we have a number of cooperation circles who are working to address homelessness and poverty in their communities, and that looks different from community to community. One of the things that's so beautiful about URI is that our mission is broad, and so people are free and encouraged to address things in a way that makes the most sense for their community. So, for example, in San Francisco, the Interfaith Council runs basically an interfaith shelter for people who are living on the streets. And in Santa Barbara, California, they have a shower truck that provides showers and hygiene supplies for people who are living on the streets. So there's a variety of ways of addressing things and a variety of things being addressed. We have a cooperation circle that's based in Georgia but does work across the country, who's going to be organizing some walks against human trafficking. So again, we're addressing both issues that are very key in people's local communities and also broader issues that affect people worldwide. So I feel like we've all talked a little bit and maybe a lot, depending on your perspective. And I really want to know, what were you all hoping to find out about when you came on the call? And I'm actually, I'm going to enable our microphones. I'm not going to do the cameras because I'm afraid it might slow the connection down and we might have some trouble. But you should be able to turn on your microphone now using the mic on button at the top of your screen. And if you just want to pipe up and tell us why you joined the call and what you might be hoping to learn, or any questions that we can answer for you. Roger, it seems like you might be trying to talk, but for whatever reason, I can't hear you.
How is it now?
Ah, there we go.
Okay. It's a small thing. Turning on the microphone is a good thing.
There you go.
I have the honor of a number of things. One, I am a URI representative to the UN, and so I get to put a lot of what we're talking about into practice. But what brought me to this cast tonight is two things. One, I had a long conversation with the founder, with Bill Swing, and two, I'm very close friends with Monica Willard. So we were talking about the fact that my wife and I have founded the first interspiritual interfaith seminary. And so we're already doing the work that is defined by URI. And I think the most important thing for us is to form a cooperation circle of our own through which we can interact with all of the other cooperation circles so that we can find more and more and more things and places to bring the message that we bring. I mean, at the UN, I have been working very hard to relanguage what goes on there. I stood up in the General Assembly and said, we have to stop using the word tolerate. It's arrogant. It's much better to use the word respect or acceptance or understanding.
Yeah.
My teacher, a great Hasidic rabbi, may he rest, he said there's only two kinds of people in the world, those who are my friends and those who are not yet my friends. And that really colors the way I look at things. There are no people who aren't me, who aren't who I am and what I do. And, you know, I speak at interfaith gatherings all over the metropolitan area. Last year, I spoke at a gathering of Muslims on the 1,444th birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. And imagine the rabbi walking into a gathering of 150 Muslim men and 30 Muslim women who wanted to see what I had to say. So what I had to say was, Assalamu alaikum. Now they had to answer me. They had to answer me back with alaikum assalam. And then I said, so where is the difference between that and Shalom Aleichem? I said, we speak the same languages. We're all brothers and sisters, and we were in that moment. So for me, the work has been ongoing since I started really getting into this, involved in this, in, believe it or not, 1988, when I met my teacher.
That's great. Thank you so much.
What? Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for sharing, and I think I want to. Oh, could you mute your mic again? Now that I'm talking, I'm getting an echo back from your computer, I think. But highlight what Roger said to kind of draw some lines for other people that he has a group that he's currently involved with, and now his thinking is, how can that group integrate with URI? And that's a very common thing that happens, actually, where groups are started in communities and they join URI to connect to a global network. And that, as Maria said, kind of is, we're never alone in this work because we're connected to all of these people all over the place. And so that's really part of what we're here for, is to help you feel that connection. There's a question that came in from Linda about exactly what does it mean to start an interfaith group? How do you do it? What are some of the things people need to think of and the practical issues? And Johnny, I know you have experience in this, so can you kind of take that question and tell us a bit about your experience and what it actually means to start a circle?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the most essential things when you're planning to begin an interfaith organization or a cooperation circle with URI is to with whatever group you initially bring together, you have to come to an agreement of what interfaith is, and sometimes more importantly, what interfaith is not. And I definitely appreciate that Maria covered a good deal of that in the beginning with her presentation. But explaining to people that interfaith is not an effort to have anyone change their beliefs. It's not an effort to, host debates about the merits of various different religions and spiritual traditions. It's not a space for proselytizing, although it is a space that is inclusive of religions that place an importance upon proselytizing, and it can still encourage those individuals who practice those traditions to proselytize in other spaces. It's something that's supposed to place the highest emphasis on being inclusive and trying to reach common understanding, not necessarily coming to an agreement on the nature of theology or the afterlife or anything like that, but to come to an agreement about respecting one another, about, what shared values exist among the group, and what can be done to make the world a better place, starting locally. And I often encourage other people who are interested in doing interfaith work to reach for that low-hanging fruit at the beginning. When I decided that I wanted to do interfaith work, I had all these dreams and visions of what it could be and how amazing and phenomenal it would be, and I realized that it is challenging. And we would not be honest with ourselves if we said there aren't challenges involved. But the beautiful thing is that with URI, there's a network of support. And there's no challenge that you could potentially face that someone else in the United Religions Initiative hasn't experienced before. And one of the really cool things about being a cooperation circle is that you're actually actively connected to this network through the URI contacts list. So I get emails in my inbox on a daily basis now from folks in India and Africa and South America who are talking about the successes and the challenges of their cooperation circles in other parts of the world. So that's really one of the biggest benefits. But in terms of starting out, you have to realize what are the needs in your community. And maybe even a step before that is decide who is in my community, who are my neighbors. At ASU, my neighbors are students from all over the world. Obviously we have a lot of Christian students who are, local here in Arizona, but they're also Muslim students, American Muslims who live here in Arizona. There's also international students from China and India and Japan and South America. And we realize that we exist at a time and place where all of these people effort to reach out to them and to explain what we're doing. So you have to be very clear about your organization's mission and vision. And of course, a great way to model that mission and vision is to use the purpose, preamble, and principles of URI. When my organization applied for a status as a cooperation circle, we looked at the purpose, preamble, and principles and said, this already very clearly defines the mission and vision of Sun Devils Are Better Together. So you're able in a lot of ways to sort of piggyback off of the amazing successes of the United Religions Initiative. And you have to decide when you bring a group of people together, what do we want to do and what can we start with? So our group started with community service because that's an easy thing to do. It's easy to be consistent with that. Every other Saturday morning, we're in downtown Phoenix. We've organized a clothing drive for the homeless population, and we invite folks from our respective congregations and places of worship and communities to participate. There's really a lot that can be done. So I may have over-answered that question, but as you can see, it's something I'm very passionate about.
Thanks, Johnny. And that actually dovetails into what I was going to talk about a little bit until I got derailed by this whole great conversation. So I'm going to go back to that for a minute. I'm going to post the link in the chat box that you can click on now or later. And we're going to be sending out a list, a document of resources, hopefully at some point tomorrow. It's the goal to get it to you with a lot of the resources that URI does have. So at that link that I just put up, there's resources for how to create a cooperation circle. And one thing that URI has been based on and has kind of been steeped in our legacy is something called appreciative inquiry. It's a model of communication where we look at what's working in order to come up with creative solutions. And so that process that Johnny was talking about, that initial process of, well, you've brought people together, now what? you have to decide what you're going to do. There are 4 questions that are at that link that are set in this appreciative tone and have been well thought out and used by many groups over a lot of time with much success that help you get to that answer, that help get a group of people down that road and down that conversation together. And I just put together this visual for those of you who are visual people about what are the things that URI can do to help along the road if you're thinking about starting a cooperation circle or having an organization you're a part of join URI, or you really don't know why you're here and you're just exploring what sort of touched your heart when you heard about URI. So we have a lot of resources. As Johnny said, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find yourself in a situation where someone else had not experienced that. And the beauty of that is that what I say right up there, URI people. We have thousands of people around the world who stand ready to help and to share what they've learned. And we know that there are differences from community to community, and we know that it's not always going to be the same, but we can at least share the ideas. I've had cooperation circles in different parts of the country who both wanted to do a dinner dialogue type of program, and one of them had created a training to have one person at each dinner be a trained facilitator. And they were able to share that training from New York to Maine and use that training across those state boundaries in those different communities. And therefore, they didn't have to duplicate the work. They didn't have to go and create a new training because the training was already there and they were connected to people and had ways of getting it. So one of the big resources URI has is our people. And we also are in the process of creating a mentorship program so that cooperation circles who are coming on board to URI can partner with someone who has been involved in interfaith work for a bit longer or who has started a cooperation circle before. And that way you can have someone to bounce ideas off of, someone who more intimately knows the resources that URI has, who they can point you to different helpful things, and who also can help you connect to other people in the network. So just kind of your point person to help really answer those questions that you're going to have in the beginning. So you have mentors, we have the other cooperation circles, and we have staff like Maria and myself and other staff around the world for URI. We also have our library. It's a huge library of resources that is hosted on our website. It's a little hard to find, so I'll put a link in the resource guide we have for you. But if you go to URI.org, it's up in the top right. There's a button that says resources. There are ideas for your first gathering with this group of people. There are appreciative inquiry questions, like I mentioned. There are toolkits and trainings. One that's going to be coming out this week, a cooperation circle toolkit, and I'm on my coworker. I said, can I have it to send to these people who come to the conference call? So we're constantly creating new things as well. And we have webinars. This one is a smaller but kind of group of people, but we do sessions where we have educational or capacity building trainings. For example, a couple of months ago, we had some people who had a lot of experience in fundraising and specifically fundraising for interfaith activities, and they came and shared with us their knowledge. The other thing that URI can give to you is our name. So there was a group that was starting in Maine, and as they were going through their community and trying to explain what an interfaith group was, they were having a lot of trouble. And when they found URI and they found the terminology of cooperation circle, it opened a ton of doors in their community because they were able to say, look, we're not crazy, we're connected, and we're working to be members of this organization. And so by all means, if our name can help you as you go about trying to find people to build this cooperation circle, by all means, use our name and tell people that you're working to become a cooperation circle of URI. That was me taking a little bit probably longer than I needed to answer that question, but I hope that's helpful and starts to give you a picture, and we'll follow up with all of these resources as well. We did have a question from Mohammed about how people from Kuwait, and I'm assuming you're joining us from Kuwait, or at least that you have connections there. And Maria, can you speak to that?
Yes, I'm kind of jumping out of my trying to answer to Mohammed, and specifically wanted to underline the principle 14. It says that we have the right to organize in any manner, at any scale, in any area, and around any issue or activity which is relevant and consistent with the preamble purpose principle. So to your question, Mohammed, the question rather than what we can do, your question was, I don't find it now, but has to do what can we do, which fields can we cooperate in from the state of Kuwait, and whatever is needed is the answer. In fact, I'm excited because we don't have a cooperation circle in Kuwait, and the question would be, what would be of your interest or your group interest, which driver of conflict do you want to take care of, address together? And so that would be the area or the issue that you would like to gather to become a cooperation circle in URI. So any community has challenges, has things to solve, and it is important that people address these challenges and are together rather than competing. Sometimes religions just compete. We're going to have this people, and we have so many people doing this, and you don't have as many people as we do have. Cooperation circle is very strong in cooperation. We are in a world that individualism and also indifference is playing an important role, and bringing cooperation and community as words. It's not only words. We want to walk the talk, and we want together have an impact in our community. And it depends on what is needed. And from there we can find the field we want to cooperate for. I don't know if that answers your question, Mohammed, but just something that I feel is very important as URI is that cooperation circles are autonomous. Nobody tells cooperation circles what they should do, but it depends on what is needed and why people have to be together to do or to try and solve these conflict drivers. And sometimes the conflict driver is water issues or environment issues or poverty or interfaith directly. So that we address together these issues is what URI is looking for. Is that clear enough, Mohammed?
Mohammed, are you able to type to us on the chat box to let us know if we answered your question? And if we didn't, we'll come back to it. I'm curious, actually, Arlene, we were having a little in the chat box about how a cooperation circle actually started, and you asked if I would send you the documents, and we were talking about how cooperation circles can sort of become a URI circle. And I'll very briefly tell you the process is to fill out an application, and then you'll have an appreciative interview, which Johnny talked about, where a staff member or a leadership member in URI will get to know members of the organization and have a time for you to ask us questions as well. So Arlene, I don't know if you could type or if I can enable your microphone, either one. Is this something you're thinking about doing, or can you tell us a little bit more about why you're interested? And I'm not sure if you're able to talk now. You might be able to if you click the mic on button up at the top of your screen. I'm sorry to put you on the spot if that's mean of me. I apologize. I'm just very curious.
Oh, sorry. I can see that Dr. D. Llewellyn is also kind of sharing wonderful phrases.
Yes.
The last two, and these are perhaps the arena of unity. Separate theology suggests the varied means of getting there. And I think it is so important for URI to have that wisdom of the different theologies and the different approaches. And rather than one enabling the other, one suppressing the other, what URI does is just to have them all on the table for the good of all. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite principles of the 21 is that we respect the sacred wisdom of each tradition. And we encourage each other to go deeper into the roots of our own tradition. I think those are my two favorite ones. I always come back to them. They always call me. While we were talking, Arlene answered my question. She said she moved to a new area and wants to develop an interfaith circle. So that's really exciting for us to see this work happening in times when, especially in the U.S. right now, and many places around the world, there is a lot of cultures that are not peaceful. And our mission is to create cultures of peace.
Sorry, another question that might come is, I belong to an interfaith group, so that means that I cannot become URI or even a big interfaith organizations. I belong to the Interfaith Youth Network, or I belong to Religious Peace. And so I'm in that competition. And again, this is not what URI is about. The idea, the sub-principle that I love, this, as you say, Sarah, is that principle 11, that we seek and offer cooperation with other interfaith efforts. So if we belong to an interfaith organization, a big organization that is already doing great work, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just being either an affiliate to URI or being a member of URI and applying, this doesn't take you the originality of your group. You don't need to change your name. You don't need to change your objectives. You don't need to change anything of the great work that you have already been doing. The thing is that you get into a network and you are inspired by others belonging to URI around the world, and in a more kind of a horizontal organization in which all of us bring the wisdom and the beauty of the work we are doing. And this is what it means to belong to URI. It is not, I'm from this and I'm not from that.
Yeah, that's so true, Maria. And one thing I notice as I talk to new people about URI is that how different our organizational structure is, and how different it means to be a cooperation circle than it means to join a lot of other organizations. A lot of people have contacted me in the past few weeks wondering if there's a group in their area that they can join. And while I love being able to have a group to connect them to, I also love to be able to tell them, you can start your own. You can see what the issues are in your community, what needs to be addressed, and that can be your way forward, if that's what you're feeling the calling to. And we know it's not an easy thing that, you know, poof, you're going to have a circle overnight, but it is. It's a beautiful thing, sort of as new circles are given birth to. And I just put out a little poll, and it's fun to see the answers coming in. And I think you all can see the answers as well by just clicking on the poll tab up. There's a chat and a people and then a poll tab. And so we've got about 3 people on here who want to start a new group and become a CC. And another 3 people who want a group that they're currently a part of to become a cooperation circle, and a couple who aren't sure. So that's helpful for us to know kind of who we're speaking to. For those of you who are interested, well, actually, for any of those people who respond in any of those ways, is there more information you want to know about starting as a cooperation circle, more information you want to know about an existing organization joining, or is there something we haven't answered about possible ways for you to get involved that we can? And I'm just going to read here in the chat box what's coming in. So Linda's asking, how do we find others in your area who might be interested in forming an interfaith group? Our local example is an Episcopal priest from Oakland, California, who contacted URI, and I contacted Linda and asked her if she'd be willing to talk to him. So perhaps she and Arlene are talking back and forth, and Arlene's telling us that she lives in Norwalk, California, and we're going to be able to try and find if there's anyone near to her. But Maria, do you want to talk about that question that Linda said? So how do we find other people who might be interested in forming an interfaith group? Or Johnny, you know, when you had that idea to start an interfaith group, where did you go to find people?
Yeah, usually people are close. What I feel is that when we read the news and when we see things that are happening, sometimes we feel that we don't have the capacity to deal with those big things. And we say, oh, this is terrible, and this is what's happening there and here, this shooting or this, and there's nothing we can do. I'm sure that there are goodwill people around that are also thinking about that. So I think that the possibilities are very close. Your friends, your neighbors, your work colleagues, your university companions, just when you bring a little bit of hope and enthusiasm about doing something that is good, surely other people are going to join you. And so just go and connect. I know that the Pope is going to the synagogue tomorrow, or this is in the news, and I don't think that he's going to build a cooperation circle there in Rome. But stand up. Just sometimes we have a comfort zone. My experience is that my comfort zone is I went to a Roman Catholic school with Roman Catholic friends and went to university and gathered with Roman Catholics only because it was easier for me. And it was through URI that I was able to feel the safe space to go and find others. And this has been a kind of a wonderful experience for me. I am one of those who wrote the preamble, purpose, and principles, and think being there discussing the preamble, just that end of the for all beings, for all living beings, and the discussion of the indigenous people with the Buddhist people, what all we add the word God to the principle, shouldn't we do it? How we are inclusive, how do we grow healthily in URI were big questions at the very beginning, and working together for the betterment of the community gives you the strength to do it. So I understand success. People fear what they do not understand. To see other religions' cooperation and being helpful will help to remove fear. That's completely true, Lisa. It is what has given URI the strength to continue. If I tell you a little of a story, when Bill Swing, Roger was talking about Bill Swing, when Bill Swing kind of started thinking of URI, he was thinking of United Nations of Religion. And then he found that all over the world, people are already cooperating and helping each other to address conflict drivers. And by doing that discovery, he started what was the original idea of having a United Nations of Religion passed into developing, helping, giving resources to the possibility of grassroots people doing good things for the community. And this is how URI is structured. So the reality is exactly that. We need to be together so that we lose fear and we energize each other.
Thank you, Maria. And I was just going to read Llewellyn's comment, who just said, some communities have ministerial associations, which is already ecumenical, meaning among Christians. It is one step away from being interfaith, which kind of goes back to what Johnny was saying, is if you're thinking about starting this, you can go for the things that seem easy at first, because there's going to be plenty of hard things to tackle down the road. And a lot of groups actually in recent years, ministerial associations in communities have become interfaith councils, where these cooperations of ministers, of Christian ministers, welcome and expand to include people of other faiths. So there are sort of some simple ways, or maybe not so simple, of reaching out to people of different faiths. One of my favorite suggestions is, especially with the rise in Islamophobia now, just to write a note to your local mosque saying that you understand and that you hear them and that you support Islam as a religion of peace. Or calling up your local synagogue and saying that you're interested in getting to know people of different religions, and do they have a service that you could come and attend. So sometimes it's those simple actions. But go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to echo a lot of what both you and Maria said, and I really want to emphasize that, that idea of the low-hanging fruit and the things that are easiest to start with. I think for most of us, the idea of 3 different religious or non-religious expressions is probably something we have within our own personal network of friends, family, acquaintances, or colleagues. So, I definitely would encourage you to do outreach, but, maybe start with the people you're already connected to, and then go from there and have it, create sort of a snowball effect. If they invite some of their friends from different traditions or expressions, and you reach out to your own network. And then I would absolutely agree with the suggestion to reach out to different communities and congregations, especially those that have a staff member or a board member dedicated to doing ecumenical or interfaith work. And a lot of times you'll find that, I imagined that if I created a cooperation circle, all these people would come to us because we called it Sun Devils Are Better Together, and we told people that we were interfaith. But I found that wasn't exactly the case. But when I go to other spaces, if I, reached out to the Catholic Newman Center on campus, or ASU's Secular Student Alliance, or the Buddhists for Peace Club, or the Muslim Students Association, when I went to those groups and told them that we had an interfaith space that we wanted to include them in, there were just crowds of people eager to engage. And so a lot of times it's about being the person who initiates that contact and says, we would like to welcome you, and also being willing to partner or collaborate with existing organizations that might be predominantly of one particular religious expression, but that are willing to engage in interfaith work, because some of those people will then see this as a shared space where many different people can come together around shared goals.
Thanks, Johnny. And I got a private question that I'll answer publicly, which is, I plan to start a cooperation circle, but I don't know people of other faiths. What is the required ratio? So there's no actual ratio in our requirements. It's at least 7 people of at least 3 different religions, indigenous expressions, or religions, indigenous traditions, or spiritual expressions. I flip-flopped my words there. And so the reason for that requirement is really because the idea of a cooperation circle is that people who are different from each other are coming together. And so it's not an arbitrary number, although it might seem like one, but there was really a lot of thought put into those numbers. And so what I would say is, if your plan is to start a cooperation circle, which, yay, that's so exciting, I'm waving my visible pom-poms here, that take some of these actions. So you can tell people, if it, like I was saying before, if it helps you, and if it helps other people understand your goal, you can print out the preamble, purpose, and principles. Or you can send me a message, and we have them printed nicely on these little cards. And you can tell people that you want to start a cooperation circle with URI. Yes, Maria's holding them right there. That you want to start a cooperation circle with URI, and you can show them the preamble and purpose and principles. And if it resonates with them, then maybe you've just found yourself your first team member. So I would say, as Maria said, it's about talking to each other. A lot in the U.S. especially, we have so many barriers. People are always on their phones, and we have this thing about personal space, and we're not supposed to talk to people. But we have to break some of that down in order to do this work. And so I would say, yeah, talk to people in the grocery store, but also my suggestion to the person who asked the question would be, call your local mosque and just say, I've just begun to get interested in meeting people who believe differently than me. Would it be okay if I came to visit for a service? Or do you have an event that I could come visit to learn more about Islam and meet some Muslims? And then you can call your synagogue or your Buddhist temple or different, there are a lot of like meditation type centers or peace centers in the community where you might live. And so this also, I want to just tease a little bit this idea of getting a mentor, because this is something that we can answer broadly now, but I don't know your community. But if you were set up with a mentor who had done this before, this is the kind of thing that you could brainstorm together with your mentor. So I'm excited about the possibility of that program happening.
Llewellyn is asking about Salt Lake City. We had a wonderful experience in the Parliament of Welsh Religion. As I said, that this principle of cooperating with other interfaith efforts. So our URI Global Council gathering took place in Salt Lake City before the Parliament, so that most of our trustees and staff could participate of the Parliament. And the experience there was wonderful. Our dear Sari and the North America team organized a welcome room where people could gather. Sweet. But what I think was important for URI within the Parliament was presenting not only what religions can do isolated from one another, but also what they can be to do together. And there was a lot of learning, and there was a lot of interest in just this idea of religions working together or cooperating for the betterment of the community, to help the community to address the issues that the community was challenged by. So that was what we did at the Parliament. And of course, if you have been at the Parliament, you know that there are thousands and thousands of people. But within those people, URI had, I think, a very important role presenting interfaith at the grassroots level as very important thing to do.
Thanks, Maria. I want to be conscious of the time. We're at about 6 o'clock, actually 5 minutes after Pacific time. And so I want to just wrap us up. For those who need to leave the call, I want you to feel like you can totally do that from this point forward. And so I'm just going to wrap us up. I'm going to ring the bell again. But then I can at least speak for myself. I'm available to keep talking and answering questions. If people have more questions, we can stay on as long as you need. But you know, for anyone who needs to go at this point, please feel free to do that after I ring the bell. This really has been such a wonderful time for us to be together, and I'm really grateful that you all showed up at this time on a Monday night. Just so you kind of know what's next, I'm going to send a follow-up email tomorrow that has a link to a survey, and I'm going to send that right here in this chat box as well, so you can do it right now if you want to, which I would love. And the survey is twofold. One is so we can get a little bit of feedback about this call, so we can make it better next time, hopefully. And then also, that's where you're going to go if you want to sign up for this mentorship program. So if you go through that, we'll get your information, and then we'll follow up with you to connect you to a mentor. But I'll send that tomorrow, and I'll put that in the chat box. We'll send you a resource guide so you know what resources URI has available on its website, and both the people and the hard copy ones too. And will be archived on the website that you use to access the call. But I'll send out that link once the video has been processed. And that is what you can expect from us in the next. My hope is 24 hours. Mostly it just depends on how long it takes them to process the video. So hopefully by the end of day tomorrow. If you need to leave, please do so. And if you want to keep asking questions and talking more, we'll be here to do that. We'll just put our feet on the floor and take a few deep breaths. And so it is. Thank you all for coming. Again, we'll stay on if there's more questions, but we know that life is busy and people probably have. Don't want to make any assumptions about people's time.
We get from individualism, interest, as people have shown in this call, and also a lot of what that's not only your interest. I understand that it is not only your interest in URI, and I think really URI is a pathway to interfaith work and grassroots commitment to change the community and the world. But also, I think that it's important and very thankful that you are interested in doing interfaith, which is calling, the world is calling us to involve in that. And some of you have already been doing a lot of interfaith work, and thank you for that.
Thank you, Maria. Does anyone else have any questions? If you have any, and I'll actually turn on people's mics since my computer is frozen. I don't know if you can still hear me, but my screen's frozen, so I'm not able to do anything.
We can hear you, Barry.
Oh, okay, good. So if you have any questions, type them away in the chat box, or I can enable our microphones now that we're a smaller group, and just let us know, and Maria and I can stay here and answer them while everyone else continues on with their evening. We still do have a couple people in the room, so ask away. There we go. Oh, all the slides are going crazy. Don't know what's happening there. Thanks, Johnny, for the link to the Sun Devils Are Better Together. If you ever need a little joy in your life, go to the Sun Devils Facebook page and look at their pictures, because it's so beautiful to see that diversity of people always working together and always smiling. Always. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Arlene, I see you're having trouble getting on the page. I've been trying to work out this issue on our website. One of my other myriad of duties is webmaster for that particular site that you're trying to click onto, and I'm having trouble with it. So I would say to click on the link and just leave the page for a while. Eventually, I find that it loads, but it does take a while. But also, I'll put my email here in the chat box, but you might already have it as well. If you can send me an email with a little specifics of where exactly you're located and what you're interested in, I can also look in my database at who might be nearby you if we can't get the map to work. But I can do it from the back end.
I see that Roger says that it's time to begin for us a new vision into a spiritual seminar to begin the application process, which is fantastic. Please look URI information in the application status sending and the applications that you have to complete. And then the process, in fact, I am the liaison to the CC approval committee, and the committee meets every second Wednesday of the month. So we just see the applications not in a critical way. We just see how can we support, how we can get together, what is wonderful of the work that the group is doing, and also how URI can serve to help this really happen. So there's a little bit of exchange between the regional coordinator, in the case of North America, Sari, and the group, and this committee that is formed by a trustee of each region just goes through the applications and then has a beautiful prayer to include new groups. And I hope this comes, and if you need anything, Roger, please count on me to help you through the process.
Oh, Roger, we can't hear you. We can see you, but for some reason we can't hear you.
Where's my little cat?
And I just sent a link in the chat box that includes a link to the Cooperation Circle application and some more details about that. So you can access it there, but you can also send me an email and I'll send you the Word documents. My email's right there at sari@uri.org. Mohammed, I see that you're still with us. Do you have the ability to turn on your microphone? We'd love to hear more about what you're experiencing in Kuwait and how we can help connect you to the right resources. If anyone wants to turn on their microphone, it's in the top of the screen, there's a bar and you should see your name and then the opportunity to turn your microphone on or your camera on. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Sari.
How are you?
Fine.
Good. Now, are you in Kuwait currently or are you joining us?
I am in No, I am in Kuwait right now. Here we have two main religions, either Muslim or Christian. So I don't know what about to collecting people from three different religions.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let Maria answer that. That's something that we encounter in some communities.
Mohammed, whenever this is the situation, we try that the group is as varied as possible, but in a place where there are two religions, even we had an operation circle in Somalia, we had Muslims from different denominations. This is not a limit to accept the group as a member. For instance, in Latin America, we do have a lot of groups that have Christians and Jewish, but sometimes in some parts of the country we don't have that diversity. So this is not, this is not a problem whenever this is expressed and shown, specifically as you are saying at this moment, Mohammed. So you
okay,
can
great.
go with your group.
Thank you.
Mohammed, is there a specific issue or topic that you think that it will be good for this group that you're envisioning to address? Have you thought of that at all?
I didn't, until now I didn't think about it, but mainly maybe the religious violence.
Yeah, that's great. How did you come onto this call today? I'm just curious. How did you find out about it?
I got an email from URI.
Okay. I think you maybe sent us your information through a contact form on our website.
Yeah, that's right. I sent my information and I got an email. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. And what is the time in Kuwait? I'm curious.
Now it is 5:16 minutes, 5:16.
Okay.
5 a.m.
5 a.m.
I wake up 3 a.m. to attend this. Yeah, very early morning.
Mohammed, we are so honored to have you.
Thank you very much. I hope we can cooperate together.
I'm sure we will. We will definitely be following up. I sent the link in the chat box. I'll send it again. If you can just be sure to fill out this information, we'll make sure that we're in better contact, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Llewellyn, I had to mute your microphone because we're getting an echo, but let's try again.
Check. You got me?
I can hear you. I think it's only a problem if I talk. So, you disappeared. Oh, I wonder if he accidentally X'd out of his browser because he's totally gone now. Oh. Well, I have his email address, I think, from his registration, so I can follow up with him.
He was adding wonderful notes through the chat.
I know, so wonderful. Arlene, I don't know if you have a microphone that works. Is there anything? Oh, he's back. Is there anything, Arlene, that you anything more you want to talk about, or anything we can help answer for you? Llewellyn, if you're back, you can feel free to turn yourself back on. There you go. Arlene, you don't have a mic. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box there. You're back. We were afraid we'd lost you forever. Oh, but for some reason we can see you, but we can't hear you. So there's a microphone button at the top, and you want to make sure that's on. And if it is on, and we're still not hearing you, maybe just turn it on and off. So showing that you're muted, unmute. Try now. No, we can't. I'm going to turn your camera off, and I'll let you turn it back on. Now, if you select either mic on or camera on, we should at least be able to get one or the other working. Okay. Try talking. We might be able to hear you. Oh, no luck. maybe this means we're just meant to try another time to connect, and not right now. For some reason, it just does not seem to be working.
So sorry, Lily.
Yeah. We'll have to connect another time if we can't get it working. I know when mine wasn't working. I just kept turning it on and off until it started working. Arlene, South Coast Interfaith is not a member of URI, but there are so many wonderful groups doing interfaith work across the U.S., and we just haven't connected with them yet. So I would say, if you've heard of an organization, to definitely try them out and let them know about URI too, because I have a whole long list of people that I would love to reach out to and kind of bring into this global family, and we just haven't had the staff resources to do that. And so I would love to hear about your experience with South Coast Interfaith and see what is there. I know there's a woman who's involved with URI in that. Maybe it's not Long Beach. I'm not very familiar with the LA area, but so she's in southern LA, like south of LA, so it could be Long Beach. And she's involved with an interfaith council there, although it's not. She has a group called First Drops, and they work with young kids up to, I think, age 13.
They're doing work in education of the little ones.
Yeah, so they work with children aged 6 to 13, and as a mom, she organizes a group of children, but she's also involved with an interfaith council in the area as well, and that might be that one, but I'm not 100% sure.
Aline, and sometimes in URI, people just want to go to the usual way. Is there a chapter of this organization in such and such place? And through URI experiences, if there is not, we can do it, and I'm sure that you can do it. Perhaps in 2 months, we do have a wonderful cooperation in South Coast in Long Beach, and you are the leader of that.
You just got promoted, Arlene. That happened really fast. This is what's going to happen if you hang around us too long. Okay, there's an interfaith council in Orange County as well. Yeah, and I did hear the woman I was mentioning. She, I know, was telling me that there's several interfaith councils in that South LA area that I just haven't connected with. But I would love for you to connect with them, and I would love to have time to connect with them. That's one of my goals, is to be able to make that happen.
Continues to try and talk. Let us see if we can hear you, Llewellyn.
All right, I just checked my connection.
See, the funny thing is that I'm seeing the bar, and it's showing that there's sound coming from your computer, but I'm not actually hearing it, which is really frustrating. I'm really sorry about that. I'm going to have to go back to the platform that we're using, Big Marker, and ask them what's going on with that, because we want to get that fixed. Got another call on Thursday. We want to make sure we don't have this trouble. In light of the fact that we can't get it working, why don't we just say that this is what's meant to happen tonight, is that we're supposed to close out for now, but that we can connect via email and the telephone and that sort of thing from here on. Your mic on is green. Yeah, that's just a weird thing. I'm definitely going to have to follow up, Llewellyn, with the technical people at Big Marker, because that shouldn't be happening. So I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. So if there are no more questions, we might just call it a night. Although, again, we're happy to stick around as long as there's more to talk about. Maria, what time is it for you? Mohammed got up at 3 a.m.
The morning for Mohammed, and it is kind of midnight for us in Argentina.
And it's not so late for me. It's only 6:20. So we span the globe here. So I'll give just another minute or so. Any last minute questions, put them in the chat box. If not, we'll sign off.
So he doesn't sleep. We know he doesn't sleep and he doesn't take vacation either.
Unfortunately, I need both of those things. I need vacation and sleep every once in a while. So this busy period for us after the CBS special and after Parliament has been testing the limits of how little we can sleep in a very beautiful way. So I'm going to ring the bell again just to kind of close us out so we can feel complete. And Mohammed, we pray that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and for the rest of us, the rest of our night. And thank you so much for being with us. And really, it's an honor to have spent the past hour and a little bit with you all. And looking forward to, this is just the beginning of our friendship and of our relationship. Welcome to the URI family. Bye, everyone. Have a good night and a good day.
See you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for your interest.